Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Are you getting prepper restock fatigue? Do you keep seeing headlines and articles like they just showed us what comes next? It's worse than you think. U.S. Marshals are raiding farms. My family isn't ready for anything like this. Don't wait for SHTF. Stock up now. Mass starvation. You will die. This isn't good. I hardly even want to turn on my computer. I like to glean information that is helpful, and I don't like the rhetoric of everyone being so alarmist. When you hear these types of headlines and this kind of news, it's hard to keep motivated and to stay focused. But what we really need to do is keep our eye on the big picture. We do know that bad times are here. We know prices are rising. We know that gas prices are out of control. Businesses are still trying to hire more people, and a few of the people I know are working 2 and 3 jobs, and they still don't have the amount of money that they used to because things like food have increased in price every month for the last 18, 19, 20 months. The prices are going up. Inflation is out of control. And yes, most of the grocery store shelves are full again, but the prices are astronomical. How can we avoid this prepping fatigue? Well, we need to keep restocking our food, because if these alarming headlines are true, there's so many of them, it's hard not to fall into the belief that it is true. We don't want to come to a point where one day we don't have enough food set aside. We can see that prices are going up dramatically. What we could buy for $15 a year ago is now $25 or $30 in many places, in many instances. So it's important that we keep motivated, we stay focused, we continue to stockpile the things that we really need. And being a prepper and having a prepper pantry means it's a working pantry. It's not just a stockpile that you're collecting baseball cards or Beanie Babies. You need to be using, rotating, and replacing your food. You want your stockpile to grow, but don't just buy food you have no intention of using. You want to have a full array of supplies of things that you actually are willing to use. And yes, many of your food products can last far longer, but don't just put things away for 30 years. You're not going to be able to have canned foods for 30 years. Many of them will last longer, but you need to pay attention to the dates on the cans. You can have problems with your cans. I placed a big order that I did a pickup at the grocery store, and things are still not exactly the way they were. You could put it in your cart, but then when you went to pick it up, they substituted things, or they were just not available. And so while I was not able to get a lot of the things that I did want, I was able to get some of the foods that I want going forward to make sure that I have enough, because the future is just uncertain. There are a lot of things going on in our country, which makes me glad that I have food on hand. I want to make sure that I do, so that I don't have to go to the store. I don't have to rely on the supply chain for my day-to-day meals. While we all prefer to eat the freshest, most delicious foods, that isn't always possible, especially the way the economy is going. A lot of the foods that we may have chosen in the past are either not available, or they're extremely expensive, or you can only have a limited amount. So I've stockpiled up on things that I know I can use and make meals out of that keep my pantry full. I have a lot of canned beans, soups, granola bars, chili, tamales, things that I know how to make meals with. I was able to get a lot of pasta. I was even able to get some whole wheat pasta, but I was not able to get jars of sauce and only very few cans of tomato products. I like to stock up on the Idahoan dehydrated potatoes, Betty Crocker muffin mixes in a pouch, because you only need to add water. One of the ways that I like to make these muffins even better is to add a few frozen berries out of my freezer. I'll put a link if you want to know how I do that to make these muffins taste extra special and more like homemade. I'm guilty, just as many other people are, of finding some very outdated, pushed way in the back cans of food that were way many years past their best by, sell by, use by date. It isn't always an expiration date when we see the date on a package of food. It can be. But the best by, use by, sell by date is a guarantee from the manufacturer that the food will still be the top quality, it won't have deteriorated in any way, and that's when you should eat it by that date. That doesn't mean that food is no longer safe or okay to eat. It may mean that the product has deteriorated some and maybe the quality isn't as fresh. There are a few tips of what you want to look for whenever you're opening food that is past its best by, use by, sell by date. You always want to inspect the can or package. Any can of food that's bulging, you need to throw it away. Anything that looks like it's been leaking, or if, say, a package of dried food looks like it's been chewed on, those foods should probably be discarded. Next, you want to open the can, make sure nothing spurts. If it spurts, throw it away. Look it over. Does it look right? Does it smell right? Is it still the same consistency? If so, it's probably safe to go ahead and try it. There are different ways to use your canned foods. Always be thinking about different ways you can use the foods that you're purchasing so that you don't end up with just a random food. You don't know how to use it, what it's for, and it ends up being wasted. Here's another outdated can of green beans. I've opened cans of green beans before that were long past the sell-by date, and the beans looked blue. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of that, so I can't share it with you today. But let's go ahead and see how these look. The can looks fine. Nothing is bulging. Nothing looks like it's leaking. It's all intact. And when you go to open the can, nothing is spurting. So I'm going to open it all the way. Everything looks normal. It smells good and it looks fine. I'm going to drain the beans, and you can see there's still the crispness that you would have. They haven't turned into mush, and they're not discolored in any way. Here's a can of expired corn. The can looks fine. I don't see anything bulging, leaking. Let's open it. Nothing is spurting. It smells good, looks good. I can drain it off. The corn has a nice firm texture. It smells fine, it looks good, and it tastes fine too. The best strategy is to pay attention to the dates on your food so that you use them, rotate them, and then replace them in the timeliness with their date. Don't buy foods you don't know how to cook, you don't want to eat, and that no one really likes, because it's a waste of your food storage dollars. Spend your grocery dollars carefully on foods that you do know how to use, your family is willing to eat, and then stock up on plenty so that you have enough going forward for a few weeks worth of food, a few months worth of food, and as much food as you can safely store and use in a reasonable amount of time. If you see a food you're not sure if you would like, buy one, take it home and try it. If you like it, you can always go back and get more. But don't load up on foods you've never tried only to find out that it's something that you don't care to eat. That's a waste of your food storage space and your dollars. The last few months have been hard on so many of us, trying to figure out what to do next, what's happening in the world, where are we going? What can we do to make sure that we are as safe as possible and we provided the things that we need to for ourselves and our families? It only makes sense to be prepared and not scared. These are all foods that we can eat, whether the world goes to a big, happy, peaceful place tomorrow or it doesn't. Plus, we never know. There's always the old standard emergencies: earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, winter storms, power outages. There's all kinds of things that can still go wrong. So having a nice supply of food on hand helps me make sure that I'll have the things I need and I can make the best of whatever situation comes my way. And that's why I'm a prepper. I want to be prepared to face an unknown future with the best of my ability. Stock up while you can, because we don't know what's coming, but I'm sure we're in for some interesting days ahead. If you like my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else you think might enjoy it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.